Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to night 7 of the Bhangology Cannabis Awareness Summit. We have had an amazing time. We are celebrating not only the end of the summit, but we're celebrating our 1 year anniversary. And we thank you all for being here with us for these past 7 days, learning and understanding more about cannabis and how to utilize cannabis for wellness. If you're just joining us tonight for the first time, I am Dr. Tanya Lowe. I am the CEO and founder of the Renewing Extract Wellness and Bhangology, where we really focus on educating people 40 and over about the benefits of cannabis for wellness if they are struggling with issues around sleep, anxiety, and pain. Bhangology is the place for you. So if you're watching us on social media, if you're watching through YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're watching on Facebook, subscribe to join our Facebook page and join us in the Bhangology Cannabis Society. That's our group on Facebook. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you as a part of our community where I say we learn and grow together. We're also a membership organization where you join and you get some special privileges. And we've got some of our founding members that are going to talk to you about membership tonight. So a couple of things I want to know. Did you enter the sweepstakes today? You had to be registered in order to enter the sweepstakes. So we just have like 1 more hour if you haven't entered the sweepstakes. So make sure you enter the sweepstakes. If you haven't had a chance to go and visit our website, go and visit our website. We've been offering a coupon for your purchase during this week. So go ahead and make sure that you grab that, and you can use it anytime. And then we also want to remind you that our membership is open, like I talked about on last night, and you have until May 1st to come and join us in the Bhangology Cannabis Society. So without further ado, because we have an amazing panel tonight, we've got some amazing discussion. So I'm going to bring a couple of our founding members up just to talk to you a little bit about Bhangology Cannabis Society. So I'm going to introduce you to Keith Sagers, Dr. Manny St. Victor, and Rose Fauntleroy.
Hello, everybody. Hi, Keith. Hi, Dr. Manny. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I am doing fine.
I'm hearing a bit of
Good to see everyone.
We are. If you're not speaking, mute your microphone. Now, do we have an echo now? No. Well, welcome everybody out there in YouTube land and Facebook land and wherever you're watching us from internationally and domestically, because, we have a dynamic group like that. Welcome to Bhangology and the Wellness Extracting Center. Membership has its privileges. Anytime that you can be behind the velvet rope has its privileges. Gentlemen, Keith, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Certainly, and it's good to see everyone, and good to be with the Bhangology team and family. And so, first off, congratulations on 1 year, Dr. Lowe. And this is just fantastic. This entire summit and the things that you're doing to really impact people's lives. So, so I'm a founding member. I tell you, Rose, I first started seeing small little things that Dr. Lowe was putting out, and I was like, what is this that's going on? And I've known Dr. Lowe for, almost 15 years now. And we've kind of followed each other, and I've always followed her career and amazing things she's been doing. And so one day I just kind of reached out like, what is this? And she told me, and as someone who has been a customer of CBD and been using CBD for a number of years and understand the benefits and was an early kind of purveyor of this, if you will, it just made sense. And, really want to kind of put my full support behind her and the things that she has created through her leadership and her vision. And so becoming a founding member was a no-brainer for me. And one, it was really about, I think is really important about the education aspects of this, because not everyone truly understands, what this is all about. Some people are still trying to determine, well, is this the illegal drug that everyone's talking about, or what is this, right? And so it's important that we educate people on the benefits. And so this membership, for me, provided a lot of that information and information I share with others to, become a part of the Bhangology family. And not just that, but the resources, with the professionals, the doctors, like Manny's on right now. And that part was, I think, for me, a no-brainer. But for anyone that's looking to, have better health overall, not just physical health, but mental health, and especially now with COVID, we're all Zooming, we're all kind of been quarantined. The mental health issues that we're going to be facing, I think, in this country are going to be, tenfold, if you will. It's just going to be really exponential. And so preparing and having these kinds of natural methods to heal ourselves and our mind and continue to move us forward, you can't have anything better than Bhangology and being a part of this member. So that private member portal, the training, the workshops that are provided. And the really cool part is also about the affiliates. So I'm sure someone will talk about that a little bit more. But Rose, it's a joy, and I hope everyone really kind of engages in a major way with this company.
I agree with you, Keith. And also being a founding member, like I said, it has its privileges. Now, I haven't been, all of my knowledge that I've learned about CBD and all that goes along with cannabis, CBD and all of that, I learned going through this process with Dr. Lowe. We sit down one Saturday and flushed out this idea. So I am an early adopter or a founding member because I know that it may not be universally accepted right now, but it will be. It will be. And I wanted to be on the forefront of that. One, to be first, because anytime, like I said, you can get behind the velvet rope, you learn so much more and you have more influence on what you know and what you get to share. And then to be in a community of like-minded people and to reap the benefits. And you talked about the affiliate, and I'm sure we'll get into that later with Dr. Manny. But also being on the forefront of something that can help people and something that can help, you said, and you made a really good point, mentally as well as physically, because right now with us being in this pandemic and everybody kind of being stuck away from each other, it's one thing to be stuck with each other, but we have to be stuck away from each other, and that's not natural. And that has an effect on your mental health, has an effect on your stress level, your anxiety levels, all of that. And here is something that is natural that can help you with that is not a drug. And we were talking about, me and Dr. Lowe were talking about this earlier. It's not a drug that's going to harm you like the opioids and all of that that's out there that's being fed to people because society says this is what you need. Be open-minded to try something else. Dr. St. Victor, I keep calling you Dr. Manny. Would you like to weigh in?
Well, yeah, I go by Dr. Manny on the internet, so that works. Okay. It works fine. St. Victor has a lot of tools, right? Yeah. So I think the main benefit that I immediately experienced working with Dr. Lowe was the information, because I come from a psychiatric background. So I'm trained in the psychotropics, the antidepressants, et cetera. I kind of had a blanketed thought about all things CBD and, just the whole genre, just from the way I had been conditioned during my education.
Right.
But when I was speaking to Dr. Lowe and she was talking to me, she's like, well, some of these different versions can get you non-psychotropic benefits. And that's what I needed, because I needed my mind to be clear and my anxiety to be managed. And I needed to know that I was getting the information from someone I could trust. And I trust Dr. Lowe a lot. I've got a lot of my buddies who are like, yeah, I'm loving this. And I try this. And that's not really how I am. It's got to be someone who I trust their opinion, and being surrounded by people where we're having a certain kind of conversation. Every experience has to do with the community with whom you surround yourself as you engage. And with Dr. Lowe and a community that's not about the stigma or about, trying to act like we're young kids, but ultimately just creating a wellness within our current age space. To me, that's you can't beat that. And I have a place where I can bring, I've been bringing people in, a lot of my buddies. I don't really pay attention to the details. I don't know the details of the affiliate program. I just know I've been bringing all my people like, hey, this is a place where we can learn and we can discuss this as grown folks.
Absolutely. And you made a good point, because we're not, well, I don't know about you all. I might try to act like the young people every now and then, but but that's a great point. As you pass through seasons in your life, there are things that may not fit in that particular season for you. And here you can be in a community of people who are in basically the same season as we are. So we know what used to be, and we know that this was there at that time too, but it wasn't something widely talked about and widely used. So now it I don't want to say it's a remedy. I look at it as like one of the old remedies when they say tie the garlic to your mouth because you got a toothache. It's an old remedy that has been around forever, that we know about in our season. It's almost like we have something of our own, and we just want to share it with the world. Now, the affiliate program is excellent because that gives you a way to, you're a member, and then you bring in other people. They may get their products from you through your code, and everyone benefits. Because as I said earlier, and I'm going to go back to it, membership has its privileges. And I don't know about you all, but I like to feel special. So, Keith, you want to weigh in? I know it's kind of hard because we have an echo, so I'm going to mute out.
Certainly, again, Rose, you said that membership has its benefits and its privileges. I think what makes this very unique is, again, you mentioned this is something that everyone can use. Not just yourself, but your children, right? It's healthy for them. It's healthy even for your animals, your pets. You'd be amazed how universal CBD is when you are really understand the benefits and really just why we use it in general. And like you said, Rose, it's been around forever. It's been around for a very long time. It's just now coming to a place where, people are starting to really understand it and having to hit to a place of what we call critical mass, right? And so being a member and allowing other people to join this movement is really, it's not even something that it's a sales matter. It's just something that people want to be able to share how, they're getting healthy benefits from these kinds of products that you will receive from Bhangology all in itself. Whether you have, I know individuals that, deal with PTSD. I know individuals, like you said, have other kinds of anxiety and depression and even trouble sleeping. Whatever those things are, these are natural remedies to help move those things along. And if you can get them and get the benefits, not just physically, but also financially, why not, get involved? And I think that's really what this is all about, and why I'm really excited about what Dr. Lowe has been cooking in the kitchen, if you will, with Bhangology. So, Rose, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay, funny you say cooking in the kitchen, because I think they did have a segment where they were cooking with CBD in the kitchen. Because I think what people don't know or don't realize is CBD is not just something that you take to feel good, to relax, to help with your pain. You can cook with CBD. It's not, it has healing properties, not just rubbing it on, but also to cook with it, to relieve anxiety. So it's like a universal remedy and a universal natural remedy that I don't think people really understand the benefits of. Now, Dr. Manny, I have a question for you, because in this pandemic, and you were talking about anxiety. You're on mute.
Oh yeah, no, I was
No,
listening.
Dr. Tanya's on mute. You were talking about the mental benefits and doing the pandemic.
Rose, I want to jump in real quick. You guys are doing a great job. I just wanted you guys to just talk about the membership really quickly, because we got a whole panel tonight. We have a whole panel tonight, so we've got to move on. But I thank you so much for sharing your concepts around the membership, around Bhangology. See, guys, this is what we do. We breed leaders. They get ready to like go on a whole different direction, and I love it. But we only have a short amount of time, so come on, join us in the community, right? Join us in the community, and you can get some of this love, because you see, we've got experts, we've got people who really are who are really passionate about this topic. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Guys, see, I tell y'all, when we get started, I'm like, hey, we got other people in the green room coming through to say, hey, they want to have this conversation tonight about Christianity and cannabis. So, you heard them mention a lot of things about the membership, about the affiliate program that we're going to be launching this year. It's a new program, Dr. Manny. We haven't been hiding it from you. So yes. So if you want to know more about it, make sure you're registered, get on our list so that we can send you information if you're interested in joining us in the community. So I want to tell you about this fire panel that we have tonight. Before we're going to watch a short video that is going to frame the discussion of what we're having tonight, and then I'm going to bring our panel on. And so I want to share a little bit about our panel, because they are fire. They are fire. So the first person that I want to introduce you to, and I'm going to bring them up one by one so you can see their faces. Then I'm gonna send them back down and bring up the next person. The first person I want to introduce to you guys is Robert Pierce. Robert was born in Harlem, New York. He is married to Faustine Pierce for 22 years. They have a beautiful daughter, Diamond. He's worked in the telecommunications field for 15 years as a business analyst and project manager. He is an ordained minister and serves as the executive assistant for the senior pastor and as the senior director of member assimilation at New Mercies Church in Lilburn, Georgia. After a business lunch with a friend, Dr. Lynn Richardson, and hip-hop legend MC Lyte, Robert was offered a position with the celebrity management firm of Sunny Girl Inc. He currently holds the position as senior talent manager, supporting the careers of MC Lyte, Kelly Price, Lil Mama, DJ Jermaine, and celebrity stylist Jason Griffin, and many more. Robert is very active in the community. He serves as spiritual advisor to several high-profile celebrities, as well as a mentor to those aspiring to fulfill their God-given purpose. Hey, Robert, and he's a founding member of Bhangology.
Amen.
Welcome, Robert. Thank you for joining us tonight. We can't wait to get you involved in this discussion. So we'll see you in a few. So the next person I want to introduce you guys to is Elder Jerome Case, who is right there. He's hiding. Elder Jerome Case, he uses his God-given talents to help inspire people every day, go beyond average, and to reach greater heights in life. He's a public speaker, he's a preacher, he's a life coach, a teacher, author, and writer. He has also done his own. He's been a part of other radio blog shows such as The Chop Shop, The Power Up Show, and In the Flow. While on his journey, he's taught New Testament and theology at the United Theological Institute and Seminary in Fairburn, Georgia. He has served as the pastor of Christian education and the pastor of member care at Exocia. Did I say that right? Lighthouse Christian Ministries in Lithonia, Georgia. In addition, he's a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, the NAACP, the National Action Network, and the Urban League of Greater Atlanta. Born to the legacy of a community evangelist, Jerome believes that it is his destiny to speak, inspire, and motivate people to become their best. Elder Jerome Case, welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight. Guys, I told y'all tonight was going to be fire. Tonight was going to be fire, so much fire. And I'm so excited. Pastor TJ, are you ready? Are you ready? I'm bringing you in, Pastor TJ. I know Pastor TJ is doing some, there she is. Pastor TJ is coming to us from, I think, Tennessee today. So Pastor TJ Rowe has various services in the music industry with music productions in gospel, opera, and you can mute me. I'm going to mute you. Gospel, opera, Christian, jazz, R&B, pop, and more. Pastor TJ has been in the ministry of music for over 30 years. She inherited her God-given talents from her mother, who's also a musician. She has been minister and director of music for several churches in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and expanded to other parts of the United States. Pastor TJ is a worshiper of Christ Jesus and an appreciator of God's diversified universe. As a recording artist, Pastor TJ has been given the opportunity to utilize her talents throughout the United States. She has sang and recorded and directed choirs with people, some people you might have heard of, like Hezekiah Walker, Kurt Franklin, Kathy Taylor, the late great Ricky Womack, many others. So Pastor TJ, welcome to the discussion. We are so looking forward to bringing you back. So while I know you're getting situated, so we're so looking forward to bringing you back to the discussion. Now, guys, this next person I'm getting ready to introduce you to, you guys have heard me talk about, I went and played golf in this 420 golf tournament, and I didn't even know what 420 was. And I thought it was just, it's on 420, April 20th. And it is, I love golf, but I love free golf. And I had an opportunity playing this golf tournament. But this is where I got this woman who I'm going to get ready to introduce you to. She coordinated this golf tournament with other people. And this is where I got my initial education about CBD and cannabis and everything. And so I want to introduce you guys to Reverend D. Dawkins Hagler. You guys might know her. You might have seen her around, but if you don't know her, I'm going to tell you a little bit about D. First and foremost, D is my soror. Hello. She is my soror. She's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated and many other community organization. She is a true community leader. Dee dedicates her life to public service through her role as an ordained minister and pastor, college educator, community activist, and political strategist. You might have seen her on a couple of news channels here or there. Dee served in the Georgia State of Representatives for 4 years in House District 91, which covers parts of DeKalb, Rockdale counties, which covers the cities of Conyers and Lithonia. She serves as the chair of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, or she's been a part of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, Georgia's Women's Legislative Caucus, She is the 100 Black Women. She has done so much, and she was instrumental in getting the bill passed for the hemp laws here in Georgia. So, Dee, welcome to the conversation tonight. We look forward to talking with you a little later. Guys, I tell you, it is such a blessing to have access to these people, this power-packed panel. So I know we were expecting one more person. I don't know if they're going to make it, but guess what? The show must go on. So I'm going to start out with a video, and I'm going to transition here, see if I can do it. Yes. So I'm going to show this video, and then we're going to get this party started.
Unless you're a 16-year-old who's like a total rebel, church and weed are probably not two things that go together in your mind. Which is why we were surprised to hear about a Brooklyn church that hosted a conference called The Business of Cannabis earlier this year. Our curiosity was so piqued that we had the organizers of the conference on the show to talk about why church-going communities of color need to get with the high times. So here is our conversation with Pastor Anthony Trufant of Emmanuel Baptist Church and Gia Marone, the Executive Vice President for Women Grow. I'd like to thank you both for joining us today. It's not every day that you hear about a weed conference being held at a church, so I'm curious about the inception of this. Who approached whom?
I'll let Gia.
Gia, we'll start with you.
You tell it so well. It was almost a year ago, or over a year ago now. The Reverend and I were both on an Amtrak train, and we descended both at Penn Station. We had no idea both of us were on the train, and we live in the same neighborhood and decided to share an Uber ride back to Brooklyn. And on the way back, it was a casual catch-up. I'd already known the Reverend and his family for quite some time. So the natural question of, what are you up to? And I explained that. I said, oh, I'm in the cannabis industry. And it was a chance. I was a little bit nervous sharing that, just based on the overall stigma. And his response surprised me, because he said, I've been reading about that. And I thought, you have? That's fantastic. So that led to a conversation, and a really interesting conversation, I'd say, that then later on led to his outreach to me saying, hey, we're doing an event at the church in June. Would you be open to bringing this information, to our attendees?
And what I wanted to add this time was two issues. I wanted to add a conversation about cryptocurrency, and I wanted to add a conversation about cannabis.
This is some cutting-edge stuff for a church, I have to say.
Well, actually, not for mine. I'm able to share them all the more because I've been there almost 30 years. So there's a level of relational currency that I've put in the congregational bank over the years that allows me to draw down on these kind of experiences. Those who were opposed were just members who had memories of the 90s, having grown up during the crack epidemic, and had people who stole from them, people who did all kinds of things, and they feared that it was a gateway drug. And they thought that by doing this, you might open up the floodgates again. And with Gia's assistance, I was able to give them the facts. And once people heard the facts, it didn't necessarily change the way they felt, but it did make them tolerant.
And Gia, you're the Executive Vice President of Women Grow. Maybe you can tell me why it's important, as we're on the cusp here of legalizing marijuana in New York, and it's already legal in 9 states. It's a conversation we're having nationwide. Why is it important for women and communities of color to be involved in this discussion early?
Well, for several reasons. One, right now, the industry is being led by men, and it's actually being led by white men. And what we've seen even in other industries is that it's the struggle of diversifying the industry, right? And so we have Women Grow, which is an organization that was created to connect, educate, empower, and inspire the next generation of cannabis leaders, which means is that we're not cultivating cannabis, we're actually cultivating leaders, because we want to see more women and more people of color in the forefront.
And Reverend, a similar question to you. As a spiritual leader and a leader of your community, do you see this as a social justice issue? Why do you think it's important for your community to be engaged with this discussion?
I see it as a multidimensional issue. First and foremost, I see it as a matter of compassion. So for persons who don't have adequate access to medical coverage, persons who are finding themselves in an unenviable position of trying to choose between paying rent and paying for medication, cannabis is something that's far more accessible. It's affordable. The second issue is an issue of economic justice. That one, I saw an opportunity for investment, and too often is the case that people of color and Black people in particular are left on the platform as the train of progress pulls out. And I was determined in this instance that the members of my congregation and my community were no longer going to be on the platform, but rather we were going to be on board. And the reality is, even as we're getting on board, this train has been slowly but consistently moving away from the station for some time now. Secondly, for me, it was an opportunity to look at, and Gia and her colleagues explained this to me, not only investment, but employment opportunities that are available that's associated with it. Then the last piece is the restorative justice issue. And from what I can discern from conversations that I've had with our district attorney, Eric Gonzalez, who I think is incredible, he is continuing the legacy of Ken Thompson, and he's really pushing the envelope and trying to insist that on low-level offenses, that number one, he's not going to prosecute. On number two, he's looking at the prospect of being able to expunge the records of persons who were convicted. And then thirdly, I am interested, and I haven't had this conversation with him yet, what happens if, when rather, I should say, New York State legalizes it? What implications does that have for people who are behind bars? Will their sentences be commuted? Will they be reduced? So those are kind of my concerns. And, you know, I see this issue as multi-layered.
Gia, does your organization do any policy work, especially around this issue of restorative justice, where we know that Black and brown communities suffer disproportionately from the criminalization of marijuana? Are you working with legislators at all to try and make sure that these records can be expunged?
We are working with our local officials. We're working with, of course, advocacy groups, attending and participating in lobby days. We are speaking with and meeting with our Congress people, those on Capitol Hill or here in New York, in Albany, really just to find out what can we do to help move this along. So we're doing our best, not only just for the social justice piece, but also the diversity piece of it. Because if we're not stating up front that women and people of color need to be included in terms of these licenses and ancillary opportunities and loans, one of the struggles that women and people of color are having is lack of access to capital.
Reverend, I'm curious about if you delivered any sort of remarks or sermon at this conference, and about what the Bible has to say about weed. People must ask you this, right?
So again, I have not read any passage in the Bible that talks about weed. All right, marijuana. No more than I've read any passage in the Bible that talks about the use of a smartphone or social media.
But marijuana has been around for longer than a smartphone.
Yes, but at the same time, while it's been around, more often not in communities of color, it's been around as a part of folk medicine. That I have a member of my church. I'll share this anecdote. We were sitting in staff meeting and we were talking about favorite memories that we have, and so she shared the story about having grown up in the South, and Virginia in particular, in a rural area. And she used to go out and would watch people picking a plant. And she said then they would come back and they would take the plant and roll it up and smoke it. And they used to call it life everlasting. And I said to her, that's not life everlasting. That's weed.
Potato.
So she said, well, weed's been around a long time. I didn't know that we were exposed to weed so early in life. And so, I'm just mentioning that it's for some people, it's not as a foreign a concept as you might think.
Prior to 1937, cannabis was legal, right? So without even talking about was it in the Bible or not, doctors were actually prescribing it within medicine. So, we've been in this prohibition state for almost 84 years. But prior to that, doctors were prescribing it. So it's interesting to hear when people say, well, was it in the Bible? Well, actually, it was considered medicine, as it still is. If we begin to broaden the conversation to look beyond just the smoking a joint or the stigma around this, and really look at this is an actual industry that has publicly traded companies, in the Canadian stock as well as in the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. So we have to have this conversation. Otherwise, it's a huge population of people that will miss out.
It just strikes me as strange that when people start talking about marijuana use, the image that often pops up is not simply the white stoner, but the black and brown person who's on the corner selling. Well, nowadays, so somebody who was using before may have used because they discovered the medicinal qualities,
Medicating. They were
wound up getting arrested and then jailed. Well, now that we have the opioid crisis, I'm watching communities where people are not being jailed, but rather they're seeing it as a health crisis.
That's right.
And they're getting into treatment programs. So why do some communities get treatment programs and it's an opioid phenomena when really all it is drug use? When people of color do it, it's drug use.
Right.
And we get jailed and criminalized. And so I find that to be very, very problematic and hypocritical. I really do think that we are going to have to start looking as a country, not about ideological bents, but about how can we find areas of commonality? How can we partner to solve some of the issues that are before us? And ultimately, the best way that I was able to do this and participate in the conversation, there is much that people can talk about with the Bible, but ultimately, Americans are not governed by the Bible. That's something that we need to remember when we start looking at this. So it's not just about what's best for the church. It's about what's best for our country, what's best for our community, what are best for our families, not just what's best for the church. And our church is always invested in trying to do what's best, not just for us, but what's best for the larger community.
Reverend Trufant, Gia Marone, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we are going to jump right on into it and have this conversation. And I see that Pastor Keith Jamal Hammond is with us, so I'm going to bring him up and introduce him as I bring up the rest of our panel. So, hello, Pastor Keith. So, Pastor Keith Jamal Hammond is a national and international preacher, coach, and community advocate. Keith was born in Germany and raised in Augusta, Georgia. He is a proud alumni of Albany State University, where he earned a degree in criminal justice and communications. He later earned a Master's of Divinity degree from Mercer University. He has been an associate pastor, and he is a senior pastor. And Keith, forgive me, because I always I want to call your other church's name, but that's not where you are right now. So I'm going to let you tell the people where you're senior pastor right now. He is an author, and he has he's done a weekly talk show with over 50,000 listeners, and you might have seen him on that TV show, The Dress. What was it?
Say yes to the dress.
Don't say yes to the dress. Say yes to the dress. So welcome, Pastor Keith Jamal Hammond. And please tell everyone where you are currently a senior pastor.
Senior pastor, New Generation Baptist Church in historic South Atlanta.
Thank you. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
You forgot the other thing you forgot.
And he is a proud member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. My apologies. All right, so we're gonna bring our panel on in. We are gonna bring our panel on in. Hello, I think I have everybody in. Pastor TJ. All right, so guys, let's have this conversation. We just watched the video of Pastor Trufant talking about cannabis not only as a health issue, a social justice issue, an education issue. I'd love to hear your thoughts about the video before we jump in. So what were some of your thoughts and some of your takeaways about the video?
I don't know if I would call it a social justice issue. I can't go along with that. And for various reasons, for being heavily engaged in social justice, I don't see a discourse that even leads down that path. But other than that, he has some valid points.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to push back. So I do see it as a social justice issue, being in it for so long. And let me just back up. So when you said I was in the General Assembly, it was actually almost 9 years and not 4. But we're going to work through that. So many of the laws that have been passed have been very detrimental towards people of color, in particular African Americans and Black men. And so they have been arrested for simple possession of marijuana, or whatever we're dealing with in the cannabis industry. And we have to deal with it as a social justice issue so that there could be some type of reparations for the harm that has been done towards people of color. And if we look at it, now you have a huge group of white people, especially corporate America, who's now making money off of something that has mass incarcerated Black people. So to me, it is a social justice issue.
I agree. Tanya, we can't hear you. Dr. Lowe.
I actually want to push back a little bit on that too, if you don't mind. I don't see
Keith, I'm gonna come back around to you. I'm gonna let everyone make their points, and then so write them down. I'm gonna come back to you. Pastor TJ, you want to jump in? You said that you agreed.
Yes, I do agree. There are social justice going on. Well, I would say it's injustice going on. And so the playing field is not leveled. I see hypocrisy going on. And so, yes, there is an injustice going on.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. Elder Jerome.
Well, I look at it as a issue that deals with the justice system itself. So I can understand both perspectives of it being a social justice and then one pushing back on either. But something has to be done about the decriminalization of marijuana and the African American community, Black and Brown community that has been disproportionately affected by the criminalization of marijuana usage or selling, or just the practice and the distribution of that for a certain amount, right? Especially now that our people are also becoming more sophisticated in getting into the stock market itself. And so we're now seeing young Black African Americans and I would say young and old starting to purchase weed stocks, right? And so it's like a contradiction. Like I can purchase this now as a stock from a company or hedge on it, or waiting for the Biden administration to endorse or decriminalize marijuana so that these companies can make multi-billion dollars. But if I look back just like 10, 12, not even, I mean, just a few years ago, you had Black and brown people being locked up like in a massive way. So I would love to hear more of the discussion between Reverend Dawkins Hagler and Pastor Hammond on this.
And we're going to get right into it. And then Robert Pierce, your thoughts, your opening statements. and you're muted. Let's see. Let me see if I can unmute you.
Okay, here we go. Can we hear me? I'm
Yes.
sorry. Just thank you everyone for having me on here. I'm so happy to be here. I too see it as a social justice issue. Coming from New York City and growing up in the late '80s, early '90s, I was the direct result of some of the policies put in by the city of stop and frisk. That was greatly we was impacted in the African American brown community, where you can just walk down the street, police officers see you, stop you, frisk you, and you could have a very low level of marijuana on you. Now you're in jail for something, for just literally walking down the street while black. Let's just say what it was. And so I believe that something has to be done to address that. There's many young men and young women sitting in our institutions for very low level marijuana offenses. They were non-violent, and so we have to adjust that. And so, but I am interested to hear Pastor Keith's perspective because I know he has one, and he's ready to give it.
Yes, absolutely. So, Pastor Keith, back to you.
All right, so let's start. Let me go ahead and start with this. It does deal with injustice, but not social justice. And let's look at the laws now, because in Georgia, in most places in Georgia now, especially in Metro Atlanta, you're not going to jail for marijuana possession unless it's over an ounce. And so we have to look at, there have been some adjustments there. There have been adjustments. As social justice deals with the motif of social justice, I don't agree with it being social justice, because it has to do with giving the good news to the poor, proclaiming the freedom of the oppressed, recovering the sight of the blind, freeing the oppressed, and feeding the hungry, and proclaiming the year of the Lord. That doesn't fit in the motif. Is it injustice? Yes. Is it harsher sentences at some point in history? Yes. But I can't label it social justice. We can deal with the injustice of it. We can deal with the sentencing guidelines of it. But there has been a turnaround in many cities and municipalities to address marijuana. And I can only speak for what's in Metro Atlanta and Georgia. I can't speak for what's going on in other states.
Okay.
My question would be, because of the fact that for so many years, and I agree, Pastor, that there has been some law changes, and many states, including the Atlanta area, have relaxed some of the laws. However, when we speak of social, because of the years that it was so rigid on our people, we can't even take advantage of the economic opportunities that now come in the cannabis industry, because we have felonies on our record that disqualifies us from certain opportunities. And so,
right. Well, and let me say this, and I want to clarify one thing. Marijuana wasn't illegal until 1970, until the Nixon administration, with the war on drugs, the war on crime, which targeted Black people. Before then, the tax on it was just so high that before 1970, it was just taxed at a higher rate. And we got to deal with it from another standpoint too. I do see a problem now with some marijuana. First of all, marijuana doesn't have flavor to it. When you buy, and there's a lot of people that end up in ICUs in Georgia, the Georgia Regional, because they got called a preemie or something laced with rat poison or formaldehyde or ammonia. And we get a lot of that. So I think that we had to address it from more than one angle. Yes, I do believe, let me say this, I do believe in taking the profit from the street and putting it somewhere else. I do believe that if you're going to have it legal, if it's going to be legal, everyone should have equal access to make to financially gain from it. So, and I we can pick this up later. I don't want to monopolize too much of this.
Well, thank you for your perspective. I knew this was going to be great discussion, and I appreciate opposing views around this, because we're talking about cannabis and Christianity, and every single perspective that was mentioned here so far is valid. And so my next question is, with all of what's been put on the table, what is where does the church fit in all of this? Because we do know that and I can only speak for the church in the African American community. We do know that the church has been a cornerstone for so many things. During this pandemic, helping to feed those who need assistance, to close those who need assistance, who need help with purchasing medication. Some churches, and someone was telling me today, they run AA meetings and NA meetings. So now that the world is changing, weed isn't looked at as just, weed for getting high now. People are using weed, if you will, or hemp or cannabis, if you will, for health benefits. We oftentimes say in Bhangology, it's hope, not dope. And so my question to the panel is, where does the church fit into all of this? And so I'm going to start with Dee.
And thank you. So the church is going to have a pivotal role, just like elected bodies. So let me go back and do a little bit of history and then come back. So in Georgia, because I was listening to Pastor Hammond talk about how Georgia's moving in the metro area. In 20, I think it was 2 years ago, South Fulton was the first municipality to try to legalize it a little bit. But, and I know because I went to speak at the panel to try to help them based on the laws that I have passed in Georgia. And we'll pivot back. But the way we got that done was I had to help him go speak to some of the clergy across the state of Georgia, because the church is one of the hardest places to get people to understand that cannabis has healing properties. It's not just about stoners getting high and marijuana, and all this smoking up, lighting up the place. Because I would just tell you the truth, in 2013, someone came to my office in the Capitol and said to me, it was a bunch of white boys that look like stoners, and they said, we want you to help us pass the legalization of marijuana in the state of Georgia. And I looked at them like they were crazy, because I was like, why would I do that? You just want to get high because you look like you want to get high. There's one black guy with him. So I told him to decide, I need you to come back down to this Capitol, dress in a suit, and bring a preacher with you. And I'm telling you why, because it will look like it has some legitimacy to it. I said, as a matter of fact, go get some little white kids too and bring them too and talk about their illnesses. And then you move it around to the churches. And that is how we were able to change the opinions of people, especially in a state like Georgia and across the country. As I was able to go in and talk to different groups and get clergy on board. Because once you get the church on board, then you basically get this law passed in every state in the country. But the clergy and state have to work together. I know that church and state is typically, people like to say it's separate, but it's really not. But once you get clergy on board and the church behind you, it will typically move in the direction that it needs to move. And it was really hard, I'm just telling you, in the beginning, because really a lot of pastors like, oh, people just want to get high. But I'm going to let somebody else go. But the history of it all this is the only thing I'm going to say is, not only was it legal to have marijuana and hemp in the early days, it was against the law for farmers not to grow hemp. So if you did not grow hemp, you were going to get fined in the early days. It wasn't until between 1960 and 1931 that about 29 states outlawed it. And then it wasn't until 1937, actually, that marijuana became illegal because of the marijuana tax. But prior to that, prior to 1916, it was illegal not to grow hemp in the United States of America if you were a farmer.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Dee. Robert, I'm going to pounce it over to you. Where does the church fit in all of this? What should the church be doing?
As has been well stated, the African American church has traditionally, for lack of a better word, been the one-stop shop for the African American community. We are the pastor, we are your doctor, we are your psychologist, we are the community center. We have to do all these things. The lawyer, we have to go testify for you at the courtroom. And so I believe it is the church's responsibility to educate our people on the benefits of, and give both sides of the spectrum of cannabis. I always say the anti-cannabis movement has the most amazing marketing campaign. We can go back from the movie Reefer Madness to all the propaganda that has been perpetuated over the years that has conditioned us as soon as we hear weed, marijuana, even the name marijuana, just the etymology of that, how that name even came to play, had some social. It was racist. It was against the Mexicans, and so I believe as the African American church, we have to educate our people in totality, give everyone both sides of the spectrum, and allow our people to make the decision. But far too long, and as the pastor on the video spoke about, it's not even just cannabis, cryptocurrency. There's so many industries that we tend to be the last on to take advantage of. And we usually end up on the consumer side and not on the side that's going to reap the economic benefits. And I believe it's the responsibility of the church. We always talk about these economic empowerments. How can we talk economics in this country and not bring up cannabis? This is the new gold rush. And how can we not address that with our people?
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. And I think it starts with education. We've got to provide the education, as Pastor Keith was saying earlier about, the kids and people ending up in the emergency room, because, that is an issue. But we've got to spread the good news, if you will, about how cannabis has healing properties, and even doing some education with the youth, because many of them are, you've got some, they're getting high, but you've got some of them that they know that they're struggling with anxiety, they're struggling with a lot of issues, and they're using it to self-medicate. So, Pastor Keith, I would love to hear. Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Robert.
I want to just add one thing. I'll be really quick. And I just want to highlight this. The church has been smoking weed since weed has been out. Can we be clear? Let's not play games.
You better talk about it. You better talk about it.
Weed since weed's been out. Let's get away from that. And so we, as responsible users of the plant, have to have a better marketing campaign, because let's get out the closet and tell people of the benefits of what's going on. CBD is so beneficial. So many people can be helped. But we, on this side of the fence, we got to do better of marketing, because the ones who market good on our side are the stoners.
Absolutely. Pastor Keith, your thoughts on where does the church fit in all of this, and where do they need to jump in, or if they should jump in?
I think I'm a little torn on that particular issue. One thing I will say in agreement, there has to be education. True, the church has, people in the church have been participating in whether it was weed, grass, stink, loud, whatever you want to call it. But let's be real about this too. If we're looking at the church, we can't say that the church doesn't know that there are medical benefits, because we can't give a broad blanket statement to say, okay, the church is basically ignoring it. They're ignoring the benefits of it. People know the benefits of marijuana. I mean, I think there are enough people now that know the benefits of for chemotherapy, for example, dealing with your appetite loss, dealing with pain, dealing with being able to hold down food, digestive issues. So we are aware of those benefits of it. I think many people are aware of the benefits of it. It's just that we can't separate. We cannot group everything together, as my man was saying, as my brother was saying, Pastor, that we can't look at everybody as a stoner, everybody trying to get high. We have to separate how, the benefits of it versus the recreational use of it. And I think we're not addressing that part of it.
Okay, thank you. Elder Jerome, weigh in and unmute your mic.
There's two different arguments I'm trying to hear in here. There's one of the benefits of CBD for your health, and then the economics of distribution of the marijuana, or all of its attributes, right? I think, the word tells us that we should be sober minded, right? And then that we should not let like wine make a fool of us. the church has a responsibility to bring in properly educated people to help folks understand what is actually happening at a macro level and a micro level in the community itself, because it's not something that's like, it's no longer taboo. It's here, it's coming, it's going to be a product that is sold, it's going to be something that youth will be talking about, it's going to be something that their parishioners will have to use. And when we're specifically talking about the Black church, then we owe it, as Robert Pierce said, we owe it to our church community to educate people on the uses of it, right? We owe it to them to educate them on the laws. And we owe it to ourselves to bring in highly qualified medical personnel and science minds to explain what marijuana is as it holistically, right? As for your health and cannabis for your life, right? If that's what something's going to be used, right? So I think that also the church does suffer in the sense of what happened in drug epidemics, particularly the crack era, or when you have an issue with alcoholism and you have to have, what you mentioned, Dr. Lowe, AA meetings at your churches, right? So you have these pitfalls that can possibly happen. We do have outliers on either side, but we have to be sober-minded in how we engage this matter, and we do need to promote good habits if that is something that people are going to engage in, right? How can I then be a pastor of a church and in my stock portfolio, I have 2 cannabis companies, but I'm telling everybody else, you need to stay away. Don't touch this. Now, I am a walking hypocrite if I do something like that. But I have to understand that just because it's legal now, right? What do I tell people? Make sure that if you build a portfolio, you don't touch those stocks, right? Well, what about if you own a company that manufactures, wine or something like that, or beer, and they sell a malt liquor to the lowest part of the community on purpose, the garbage that they won't sell anywhere else, right? There's a catch-22 here. You have to be educated about what we're doing and do it in good faith and not hide stuff under the cover, because when you hide things from people, they seek it out and they won't probably get the best information. They're going to get the information that is going to actually be predatory against them, So I think the church has to evolve around the community itself, around and evolve with what's going on. But we don't have to lose the standard of being the moral and ethical center for things,
Amen.
right?
That's
and so
right.
we can still tell people, hey, you know what? If you're going to engage in this, do it ethically, right? Make sure that you're not doing it to take advantage of someone for profit or gain. And if you're hurting, then use it properly. Okay. We still have opioid uses and everything else. So those are not good. They are managed by qualified physicians, highly addictive drugs. So but hopefully they'll never be legalized in that way. But we're talking about a legalized use of cannabis, but we have a mindset, as Dr. Pierce said, that there's this mindset about it being an evil thing, in a sense, an unethical thing, and an immoral thing, because the narrative has changed, as Dr. Reverend Hagler, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, has said before, and Reverend Hammond, the laws changed, but it wasn't always illegal. So it wasn't always unethical, right? It just became unethical when they couldn't, I guess, tax it enough and people didn't have access to it. You could grow it on your own. Then it became unethical. But I think the church owes it education-wise and stewardship, proper stewardship, right, of their resources and their finances and of their bodies and for their health, and responsibility for what's going on, because you're not going to be able to escape. If you don't teach people proper stewardship, and I'm going to close it here, about anything alike when it comes to the church, and educate them, what is not understood will be abused, and what will be abused will turn around and abuse you. So.
Wow, thank you, Elder Jerome. Don't be a do as I say. What is it? Do as I say, not as I do type of community. And I think we're growing that. Got some awesome comments in the chat. We're gonna get to the chat in just a moment. I want to take a moment and do like some brief education. When we talk about, weed and cannabis and hemp, when we talk about cannabis, right? When we talk about cannabis, we're only talking about two things. Most people don't realize that there are 113 cannabinoids in cannabis, and they all have health properties. So when people are talking, they're only talking from this perspective of THC, which is Delta 9 scientifically, or CBD. And so, when you really delve into it, and so I kind of disagree with Pastor Keith when he said earlier, I think people know. I don't think people know. And I think that is evidenced by studies. It's been evidenced by what we've seen this week, where people, we had a woman last night talk about how she had to take herself off of prescription opioids because they were killing her. And so I think that there is so much room just from the language that we use. When we talk about, we're talking about marijuana, you're only talking about THC. But when we talk about it holistically, we have to talk about it from all aspects, and we have to educate from the entire leaf, not just one piece of the leaf. Pastor TJ, jump in, please.
Yes, so I have a ministry called Church Unusual, and we have church at the nightclub, and we definitely are a ministry that likes to provide tools for the whole person. So, and we also a ministry that we don't beat people over the head with the scripture of Malachi at 3 and 8 when it comes to tithing. And there's a reason why we don't do that. We want to teach people principles about how to give, how to sow and reap, And the thing is, if we bring in cannabis and the CBD, the hemp and all of that to the ministry, that's just another tool that we add to our ministry. And by the way, that is something that I would like to do. So I'm letting you know that, Dr. Lowe. I think it's very much needed. I personally take it myself. And I was also one of those people who shunned away from weed and thought it was, the worst thing in the world, in my earlier days. But as I continued to grow with a one-on-one relationship with God and kept myself open, I was able to learn more that God, I say this all the time, and I just say he's greater than just one book, no matter what your religion is. So with that said, we have to leave ourselves open to learning more about what he has for us within the earth. Let's just speak of the earth realm. And so the CBD is something that I think is another tool that we should grow and learn. And really, I think the people who will be closed off in the church is probably the ones who are just super traditional. But I still think that the members, the congregation, many people are very hungry for more than what we have traditionally been taught. So I think just creating that platform, and like someone said, just bringing people who are really educated about the benefits of it. And then, yes, we want to have balance, because too much of a good thing is not good, but if we learn how to apply these tools like CBD for our health, for mental health, and literally we're living in a time where it's really most needed. It is so much needed right now, especially instead of turning to the other type of drugs, as you said earlier, that basically the side effects and all the other issues with it are really very harmful. And so me personally, I've started to take it. I've started to explore. I've started to learn more about it. I want to learn more. And I think if we just come connected like we are here and just really just open this platform up to more people to just learn, just start with discussions, hear what people are thinking. Because if you can hear what people are thinking, the good, the bad, whatsoever, then we get in the mindset of how we can recreate, as someone said, market this service, this product rather. And we just need to open up that dialogue, create the tools, set the platform, and then also be an example of how to use this product in a positive light. And then on the criminal justice side of it, I really think that it's just an unfair playing ground. As some say, yes, a lot of people are getting arrested behind this all over these years, especially in our Black community, but then yet they get to turn around and benefit from the profits of this. I just think of it as a huge problem. You know, I've met a few people who actually sold marijuana, different things. And I'm also in real estate. My services are nationwide in real estate. I do investing and so forth. And I would teach young men and people who come to me who've gotten in trouble with marijuana and what have you. Hey, you know, until this is passed here, like I'm in Texas, until this is fully passed here, you know, hey, learn real estate, whatever those tools need to be. But hey, as this continue to open up and grow state by state, I think this is another way that once not only understand the benefits, but also understand the financial benefits there too. And hopefully they can turn things around. And hopefully there's some kind of way that people can get their records expunged and not looked upon as felons, you know, with this product. I think it's just a wonderful thing that we just got to open up and share more, have healthy discussions about it, and teach our people, especially the younger ones, because I remember this young man, he's like, I'm willing to learn what I need to learn as long as I can make the kind of money that I'm making. That's really what he's saying. He said, I don't mind dropping this, you know, and if we can just get that word out there to our young Black men, the women who's done the selling the drugs and what have you, I think there's just something around this in so many different capacities. So I'm gonna shut up because I can say so much more about it. Thank you.
This is definitely a topic that, you know, I knew this was a topic that we really needed to discuss. And I knew that tonight was going to be an opportunity to really, you know, begin that conversation. So I'm going to jump over to the chat and see what's going on over here. The chat is on fire, and I'm looking at the chat from both YouTube and Facebook. Dr. Gail Topping says, great job in all you do. Let's see. Chef Alexis says, value to the phrase food that heals. Carmelita says, she says she has her church fan and she's ready. Carmelita also says, love opera. Yes, Pastor TJ, I live my life through music and books, old school hip hop with some classic flair. Alicia says she's excited of what she's been hearing from all the speakers. Dr. Dana says, hi, Reverend D. Welcome, Reverend D. The panel is awesome. Oh my God, there's so many. I mean, they are loving you guys. Call Carmelita says, and this is why they classify opioids as a public health crisis. So there would not be a public outcry to jail those abusers. Different day, same okie doke. She says, and locked up with the long sentences that did not suit the amounts. Let's see what else we have. Such an eye-opener conversation. It's fair to say, Pastor Keith, we must deal with the injustice, but I do feel it bleeds into the social aspect. Education is key. So you, folks, they're blowing up the chat. They're loving it. Joshua Scrubs says, I actually think there are a lot of those in the church who do not know the benefits of it because it is so quickly written off as a wrong or a sin. Call Carmelita says we need to have real and courageous conversations as soon as possible. When Forbes projects the cannabis industry at $24 billion for 2021, and some estimates as high as $61 billion, Blacks cannot ignore this industry. And so, wow. Oh my God. There's just so many. I'm going to come back to the chat. So many comments. It's just so many comments and thoughts in the chat. So, where do we start, guys? Where do we start? Where do we start as a community? Where do we start as a church? If we're going to walk into your communities and into your churches and places where you minister, where would you start? Or I guess the better question would be, how would you... No, we're going to start with that. Where would you start? And then I'll come back to my next question. So Robert, we're going to start with you.
Amen. I would start, as we've been talking, conversations to see where our congregation lands on the issue. I'm sure if you would have just surveys just on the uses of CBD, many people would be surprised at those who are advocates of it. But again, we're in the closet because we don't want to offend the church and be ostracized because we don't want to have these conversations. And so I think the conversation, it's okay to talk about these issues. It doesn't mean, and please hear me, I am not advocating opening up church and we all light up joints in the church and listen to the pastor. Absolutely not. I'm talking about responsible use of a something that has health benefits for you. So again, as soon as we say this, that's where people go. Oh, so everyone's going to come in there high, this. CBD has no psychoactive elements in it that's going to get you high. And so you can take, and let me say this, and I'm not going to go long. Could I really talk about the elephant in the room? We as preachers, we go home after preaching, we serve in high pressure jobs. Wouldn't it be so much better to take a CBD gummy at the end of the night and relax, as opposed to what some of us are doing? Let's not play games. We're going home drinking alcohol, popping opioids to go to sleep, and cocaine, whatever it is, because of the stress and the pressure that this position, this calling, has on us. Let's not play games, folks. We're out there. We're in a crisis.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So we'll come back. We'll come back to
I'm sorry, the enemy.
Okay, there you go. That's the devil. That's nothing but the devil.
Could have been the Lord.
And so I think we got to be honest and
see.
We'll come back to you, Elder Pierce. We'll come back to you. So, Elder Jerome, please jump in and share your thoughts on where should we start. We're gonna come back. We're gonna come back to you, Robert.
So from a clergy standpoint, right? What I'm hearing is two different. So I have to listen a different way, right? So I could listen as the world would like to hear it, in the way the world hears it, and that is being, if you want to look at social justice outcries, and we want to have benefits in this industry and we want to be able to take the stigma off of something, right? And then I have to listen to it from my faith-based aspect and how I deal with God. First, I would ask is, as a church, what are we praying about? Okay. Where have we landed on this in prayer first? Okay, as a body, or are we just trying to grab hold of what's moving real fast? Right? Are we trying to have a part of what the world is having a part of, or are we having a part of what God wants us to have? Are we hearing the Lord? Okay. Are we moving by the Holy Spirit? We can't forego our faith in and God and the Holy Spirit just because dollars are moving. The currency of the dollar is flowing, right? Are we in the currency of the Lord? Are we moving with his current? And, where is God working in this? If we as the church can find the space of where God is working in some of this, then the church will prosper. The church will take care of itself. People will fall in line. You won't have to twist their arms and drag them into different places, because everyone is preaching the same message. We're all on one accord with what God is doing. And if I'm a pastor of a church, which I am not, but if I was, I would take long and hard a time of prayer and fasting and try to understand what is God saying and how is he leading me to communicate this, right? And then those who are with me, what are they hearing God saying, and where is he moving? The problem is we try to get somewhere and ask God to be there with us. We need to go where God is going, right? This cannabis industry may be something that is not for us. I don't know, right? I didn't hear God say it was, and I didn't hear him say it did. I hadn't asked him. But I know one thing, if we're going to be a church body, we have to ask, where is God in this? I know what his word says, okay? I know that what I talked about earlier, 1 Peter 5:8, be sober-minded and be watchful, okay? And then Ephesians talks about, and do not get drunk with wine and debauchery, and be filled with that spirit, right? So we know that's wine, but if anyone is filled with, takes something into a point where it starts to fill their spirit, they need to get high. if you have to take something because your day is so stressed, you have to take something, you're going to wind up becoming dependent if you don't understand what you're taking, right? And to a degree. So we have to be smart, because as pastors and everyone who's in ministry knows this, faith operates different in the mind, and then it has its way with people's actions, right? It's just not like going to see a doctor. How we talk about things impacts how people see the world. Their worldview changes with things. So we have to be very careful. So where is God in it? Are we hearing God? And as the Holy Spirit told us and given us instruction, right? And as we go, we won't get the whole picture, but we need to go one step at a time with Him.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that perspective. Reverend D, where do we start? Where does the church start?
Everywhere, because the church is the foundation. So I agree with everybody, but I come as clergy, an activist, a patient, and a policymaker. So you have to put all of those things together and balance them out. One of the reasons why we passed the law in Georgia the first go round, the 2016 bill with low THC oil, because there were so many children who came into that Capitol who were having seizures, epileptic seizures, who were sick, cancer patients, HIV patients, sickle cell patients. It ran the gamut. But we didn't cover but so many at one time. And the activists were crying, saying, why won't you add all of these ailments to the list? Because we need help. And then doctors were coming in saying, we want to be able to let our patients have what they need. And then the clergy was like, but we don't want people to be high. And I was like, when and where do we get to the point that if you're using cannabis in whatever form, CBD or THC, and now the best one that y'all really should use, that's a whole nother story, should really be CBG, but I'll come back to I'm going to leave y'all alone. But I'm just saying that we have to do more education, and the church has to be honest about the conversations that we're having, because I think we're getting too caught up in sin, and medicine is not sin. Marijuana is a plant, is a natural plant that doesn't need anything added to it. It is what it is in its form. It comes out the ground, doesn't need to be cut. You can drink it, you can eat it, you can smoke it. And for me, I am a breast cancer survivor, and I started passing the bill even before working on it, before I was even diagnosed with cancer. I thought it was a good thing. Diagnosed with cancer in 2015, so by the time 2016 came into pass, I was ecstatic. And I don't just use CBD, I also use THC, and still will preach the gospel on any given day. Now, I don't smoke, because I've never smoked cigarettes. I did try a cigar before, and it made me choke, but I will eat THC. I would eat it in a cookie. I would eat it in a gummy. I would eat it in a Rice Krispie treat, because that's the only way I'm going to get it in my body, because I don't need smoke in my hair, in my skin. But I'm just saying, I don't know how we got to the point that this has become a sinful thing when opioids are killing people. I don't even know what the conversation is. So I did seek God because I wanted people to be healed in totality. So when I say stuff, I'm saying it as 4 different things: an activist, a preacher, a patient, and a policymaker. In some kind of way, we got to bring all this back together and have some real conversations. Now, I hate to get off, because y'all are fire. Y'all are straight fire. But the bills that pay me.
Oh, D, you muted. You muted yourself. You muted yourself.
Bye, but I love you. I got to go to the one that pay me.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, D. Thank you. Guys, the time has gotten away. I mean, I looked at the clock. It was 8 o'clock, and now it's almost 8:30. So we're gonna wrap this up, because we got some prizes. We got some prizes to give away tonight. People want to know if their name was called, but I got to go to Pastor Keith. And then we're gonna have everyone make their final statement. So Pastor Keith, please join the conversation around what should the church do? What can the church start to do?
It's funny. Me and Elder Case are in agreement tonight, my brother. But I want to start here. We could talk about marijuana being natural. You grow it from the ground, and like I said, there again, we got to stipulate: are we talking the people use it for recreational or medicinal? But here's the thing: poison ivy is grown naturally. You don't have to do anything else with it. So is poison oak. That don't mean that it's good for you. And I'm not discounting it. I want to share this with you. I have a member of my church that actually sells CBD, and came and had a conversation with me about doing it, and goes out to Denver, Colorado every year. Went out there and studied and took some courses and went to some workshops, and she sells CBD oils and stuff. So I'm very much aware of it. But me being responsible, I can't just me being responsible and being an influencer. I just can't go out and say, hey, y'all, let's rock with the CBD. Let's rock with the marijuana. I can't. But I will say this, it is something that I think we need to have a conversation about and explore and have all information in place. What I was saying earlier, just to clear it up, is most people know that there are some health benefits to using CBD, some of the products that's using CBD. Most reasonable people know that there are health benefits to it. Some push back on it, but there are health benefits, and we've seen it, we know it, and I think it's a conversation that we got to start with. First of all, we do have to seek the God's guidance on which way we're going, which way what we should be doing, but we also have got to give valid information. We have to have valid information moving forward, and then we have to pick and choose what side we're going to land on, because on one hand, I can't advocate with you if you're talking recreational use and I'm talking medical. One thing about the church, if we're going to speak, we must have a consistent voice across the board. And that's the one thing that has failed to happen in many issues that happen socially. We don't have a consistent voice. So we have to make up our minds and stick to whatever the principles that we will say. If we're dealing with the health benefits, the therapeutic reasons for it, we need to deal with that and not keep wavering recreational or health benefits. That's all I have.
I love that. And you're absolutely right, Pastor Keith. I think that I know in Bangology, we are very focused on the health and wellness benefits. But I think there is, as we have this discussion, we have to talk about those, when, not if it's legalized, but when it's legalized, those, what are the effects of those who choose to use it recreationally, and how to use it responsibly, as well as understanding, again, there are 113 cannabinoids. It's more, people limit themselves to THC and CBD, but as Dee mentioned, there's CBG, which is great for pain and inflammation. There's CBN, that is better than Ambien, which causes people to have night tremors and all kind of crazy things. So I think we start with the education. We've got to start with the education, and we've got to start with having conversations like we had tonight, and not trying to, I want to win you over to my side, or you're bad for thinking this, but to have the conversation so that people can make their own decisions for their health, so that they can have a better quality of life. And so with that being said, are there any final thoughts or comments that you'd like to make?
I would like to make, the church itself has to have, like Pastor Him says, the church has to have a consistent narrative that it is talking about. And what we're going to look at is going to be just health-wise, and veer away from the recreational side of things, but also talk about what people do for recreation so they can make an informed decision about yourself. At the end of the day, you're going to have free will. But you have, as a pastor, you still have to stand up there knowing that you have stood your ethical and moral ground and your responsibility to your flock and the community, and let it settle there. If you can say what you got to say flat-footed and confidence and knowing that God has led you, then that will work itself out on your behalf and for your community, because then you will be seeing someone that has a consistent message, not going back and forth. And so then you can be the authority and you can be trusted by your community.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pastor TJ, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to add to the discussion?
Basically, I definitely agree with Elder Jerome, and I've already kind of stated, about that introduction and having that dialogue with your ministries. And yes, it's all about branding, how you're going to introduce it to those who don't know about it, and then how we going to execute a plan of how do we use this, what's the difference, what's the pros and cons. It's just like teaching anything else, so just not make it as something super brand new, but just another, again, I use the word tool. It is definitely a tool, a useful tool to benefit our lives in so many different capacities. So I'll just leave on that note, because I've already pretty much answered the question before we even got to it. But I am excited about this dialogue. And really, I would say, Dr. Lowe, this conversation needs to be duplicated, the same topic and everything. So that is a good way to start this in the church. Like, take a time where if you're doing a Zoom or in person, literally have this as a conversation in the church, and then grow from there. Thank you for having me.
Well, they'll be able to take this conversation that we've had tonight, because it's going to be forever on YouTube, and share it and use it as a discussion in your communities, in your small groups. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Pastor Keith, final thoughts.
First of all, thank you for inviting me to be a part of this with these great minds and pontificators. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it. I think the one thing that, just to piggyback and go in the direction, one would be in the consistent voice, and also being, we have to kind of wake up, because it is coming. It is here. Every time there's an election, more and more states are legalizing marijuana. So I'd rather us be ahead of the curve than playing catch up when it does happen. Because if out of any state in the South, Georgia will probably, you can mark my words, Georgia will be the first of a southern state to legalize marijuana, and when it comes down to it. So I think that we need to be ahead of the curve, and we need to have our game plan in action. We need to have our advocacy in place, and our consistent voice talking about the therapeutic and health benefits of it, and making sure if we're speaking that's all we're speaking, so it's not convoluted or confused with recreational use. That's all I have. Thank you again.
Thank you, Pastor Keith. And last but not least, Robert Pierce, your closing thoughts on this conversation tonight.
I too want to just first say thank you for creating this space that we can have such conversations. And I agree totally with Pastor Keith and with his last comments. It's we have to be clear of our message, and we have to it's education, education, education. And then let's not demonize those who make the decision after they've been educated to participate in using cannabis products. That's where we can help out, is we not demonize people when they are making responsible adult decisions. Now, I don't advocate for children for recreational use at all. I don't think we should be talking about that, as Pastor Keith said, but for medical use, and also I want to say for economic advancement, we have to have the conversation, because you can be in the cannabis industry and never touch the flower. I am an investor in a organic soil company, because I wanted to get in the cannabis space, but I didn't want to touch the flower. So, flower has to grow, yet you need soil. And so I found a way to invest in the space without being in the stigmatized space, if that makes sense. And so let's just be open to the new possibilities of this industry and this medicine that is here for us to take advantage of. Education, education, education.
Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you for being a part of this panel tonight. I hope that as we continue these conversations in Bangology, that you will come back, that you will be a part of these conversations that we have, that we host. I hope that you begin to host conversations in your own communities, and that you also connect. And like you said, it's about advocacy, education. We've talked about health. We've talked about social justice, social injustice, and just having these open, honest communications. So I thank you all for being here tonight. I'm going to send you all back to the green room, and if you can hang out for a little bit, I will be right back with you. Has this been an amazing night, guys? Has it been an amazing night? I know we're We're over a little bit. It has been great. I'm gonna bring Rose back up to help me give away some of these prizes. I know people are wondering, did I win? Hey, Rose, was this great tonight?
Oh my goodness, it was past great, Dr. Lowe. Oh my goodness. I was over in the chat because my computer's been locking up, but I was over in the chat having some conversation, and I think we can welcome a new member.
I think all right. So guys, don't forget.
Blazing has said she just joined.
Awesome. Wow. So, guys, thank you for being here with us over this week as we celebrate our 1-year anniversary, as we celebrate, making strides in the cannabis industry, as we are becoming influencers. I like to say, as we are becoming influencers in this industry, and there's so many opportunities for people to learn and grow. And I'm so glad that Robert mentioned, how where he's investing, because we're gonna do a panel. Probably after we recuperate from the summit. We're gonna do a panel on ways that you can actually get into the industry without touching the plant or product, right? And Absolutely. So, we've talked about that kind of earlier in the week. Ways that you can, whatever you do in your day job, you can absolutely do in this industry, whether that's being an educator, as we talked a lot tonight about education, being an investor, so many things. So we're
a lot of valid points of information. I mean, we could
go on another 7 days. Yeah, but we're not.
And I'm really interested in what Robert was saying, how he is invested in organic soil. You got to be able to think outside of the box. I invest in cannabis stocks.
Yeah.
So you don't have to necessarily go the traditional route.
Exactly. So Rose, there's some people that are waiting to see if they won. If they won during this these giveaways. So I just pulled up the let's see, I'm gonna pull it up because I'm gonna show it. I don't want anybody to think we're cheating. Okay. So let me pull it up on the screen. So we're gonna do live draws.
I don't even have my phone. I was getting ready to say I could do a drum roll.
Let's see. Okay, here we go. So, Rose, I'm gonna need you to keep your eye on the chat because I can't see the chat. And so at the same time, so you see it says 7-day Cannabis Awareness Summit is ready to award. We're going to be giving away five gifts, prizes tonight. And let's see, I got them right here. Oh my God, you see this? I've got them right here. We're going to give away some t-shirts. We're going to give away some gummies, some tinctures, so you can actually have an opportunity to experience the Bhangology premium products for yourself. So you see, and Rose, can you see the screen that I'm showing? Can you see the screen?
I can, and I'm watching it over on YouTube as well.
Okay, great. So you see that we have, we do these giveaways often, right? So this is the one. We have 219 entries, 24 contestants. And let me tell you, Georgette Moore, she was trying to win this thing. Nally Octavia, 18, she was trying to win this thing. Alicia Blessing, 23 entries.
Wow.
I think that's Dr. Dana, 15 entries. Honey, they've been trying to win this thing all week, right? So, but let's see who's gonna win this thing. So you ready? So what should the first giveaway be, Rose? I've got coffee. Oh, we're gonna save the baby bang box for last. So the baby bang box is gonna be one of our candles that does not have cannabis or hemp or anything in it, a bottle of our isolate gummies, and a tincture. So that's going to be our baby our Bang Box Junior. So we're going to give that out last. So I think why don't we give out our new product, which is our cannabis coffee. Can you see it?
I can.
All right, so we're gonna give this out first. This is my first time doing this live. I'm so nervous.
Oh, wow.
Says
I'm
ready.
excited.
I know I'm ready to. I'm excited. I'm excited. Okay, so it says ready to award. Here we go. And oh wow, it just went ahead and gave us the first. It just went ahead and gave us the first 5 winners. So that first person is going to be wow. Okay, so I don't know who this is because the name isn't on there. But I think that is. I think that's Michelle. I think that's Michelle. And can you write that down for me? So Michelle is going to get the coffee.
Okay.
Michelle's gonna get the coffee. Well, I guess y'all see who's won everything. So the next giveaway was gonna be a Bang bath bomb, one of our teas, along with the little thing to do your tea in, and that's gonna go to Alicia papasoyo@gmail.com. So she's the next winner. So Rose, if you write that down for me, I will make sure that she gets that. So the next winner is going to be the winner of our, we just started a partnership with Green Roads, and we will be offering some Green Roads products. And so the next winner number 3 will receive this, and I think that's Dr. Dana, dmiko@hotmail.com, is going to receive this little sample pack of Green Roads products that we will be offering really soon in our store. So Dr. Dana, you get a Green Roads packet here. Dr. Dana's, she's familiar with all our products. Okay, so, oh my goodness. So the next person, I think that is, I don't know who Empress 901 at AOL is, but they're going to get our CBD and chill t-shirt, and we're going to send that out. And our last but not least,
oh my goodness,
who's going to get the Baby Bang box is Robert Pierce, who will get our isolate gummies, our CBD and CBG tincture, and our Bangology candles. So, wow, I hate that that's it, guys. So these are the winners. Rose has written the names down, so I know who gets what. Wow, I mean.
Yes, Robert, you won. Congratulations.
I know. See, that's you gotta show up. You gotta show up. So congratulations to all of the winners. Thank you, Rose, for helping out tonight. Our founding members, they jump in and they really participate in this process. It's not just my Bangology, it's our Bangology. We are a community to learn and grow together. And so, Rose, I thank you for being here with me tonight. So guys, we're wrapping up. Thank you. I all I can say is thank you for making the last 7 days just so exciting. It's giving me a lot of energy and a lot of excitement about programming, the type of programming to continue to provide for our members and for our communities. So I thank you. Join us in the Bangology Cannabis Society. If you're not on our list, go ahead and get on our list. And you can do that by going to bit.ly/Bangology Summit. And we'll send you information about our membership. I can't go into the investment of the membership on YouTube. They don't like that. But we'll send it to you. And I promise you it will be, but what I can do is tell you what membership does. So if you go to, I have to email it to you. But anyway, when you become a member, you will be learning and growing in an exclusive community. Everyone loves exclusivity. Members get 15% off all products, recognition in our Bang Report quarterly magazine. And if you haven't seen our magazine, it's amazing. Access to a private member portal, opportunity to join the new affiliate program that we're going to be offering. Members are the first to try potential and new products, make input into the growth and development of Bangology, and develop as a cannabis influencer. And so those are the things that you get. Oh, and then the monthly trainings, one-on-one trainings that we don't do on social media, but they're in a smaller environment where you get to bond and get to really know our speakers up close and personal. So again, have an amazing rest of your evening. Have an amazing week. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you soon. Until next time.